Rashad Richey, the host of the Indisputable channel on the Young Turks, is something of a Renaissance man, with his ability to embarrass himself across a wide range of subjects. After driving his already shoddy reputation further in the hole with his ludicrous quack medical study of Alzheimer's, Rashad turned his attention to physics and soil science. And yeah, it's LOCO. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With cold, blunt analysis cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's time for the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
Now, this was supposed to be a publication of his master's thesis, but as we all see, this would probably earn only a C as a senior capstone project, and that's only if the professor just wants to pass him to get him out of his class. In fact, the best way I can describe this thesis is to imagine a physics professor assigning a term paper to Rashad on something to do with electromagnetism. And because Rashad has an interest, but no expertise, in human physiology, he decided to write his paper on the effects of the Earth's magnetic field on the human body. But Rashad has not been paying attention to anything in class, and the paper is due next week. This is what you would get. Right away, a number of things leap out that point to the fraudulent character of this paper and the author. For one, the inclusion of the word quantum in front of everything, and it's pretty clear that he doesn't understand what the word means, because his title mentions the Earth's geomagnetic quantum field, but the Earth's magnetic field isn't quantized. And even if it was, such quantization would have no impact on processes at the scale of human physiology and agronomy. And you can tell that Rashad's use of the word quantum in the title was just done to make him look smart, because the word quantum only appears twice in his thesis, and only in the first paragraph. It shows up nowhere after that, not even in the bibliography. Think about it. This paper is supposedly about the Earth's quantum magnetic field. He even lists quantum field in the keywords list, but none of the sources cited say anything about quantum anything. The second time the word quantum is mentioned appears here, where it says the Earth's geomagnetic field, GMF, also known as the geomagnetic quantum field. Really? Scientists call it that? Well, we can check. Let's do a Google search on the term. And nope. Now, what about these two? Well, this is from the International Journal of Science and Research, and so is this one. These are Rashad's papers. The same thing here. So he totally made up the term, just so that he could use the word quantum in the title and impress his friends. This is supposed to be his master's thesis, but it's only 8 pages long. The other thing I notice is that there is no original research discussed in his thesis. The summary makes it clear that this is just a review article, the synthesis of research findings discussed here, blah, blah, blah. Later it says, the reviewed research suggests that blah, blah, blah. And indeed, Rashad performed no experiments, nor did he develop any new theories in his thesis.
LOCO! Huh?
Rashad's thesis is more like a term paper, which is far easier to write than a research article, because you can lean on the expertise of others' writings. All you have to do is congeal them into one article and call it a day. These articles are also easy targets for AI, and I suspect Rashad used AI quite a bit in this thesis. But there are other glaring problems. He published this article in the International Journal of Science and Research, where he publishes all of his articles. And why? Because they'll publish anything. Literally, you pay them a sum of money and they'll publish your article. I have another video where I show why I claim the journal is what we call predatory in the publishing world. I mean, take a look at this. The running title is shown here only on the first page, but the running title is supposed to appear on the header on every other page. That's why it's called a running title. The title runs throughout the article. So the editor of this journal doesn't even know what a running title is. Here's an equation for the Biot-Savart law, and notice the asterisks. Apparently, the editor of this esteemed journal doesn't know how to typeset multiplication. And here's a tip for the editor and Rashad. The boldface you see in the original equations that you found on the web is not for style. It represents a vector quantity. So you can't just remove the boldface. As it appears here, this equation makes no sense at all. Of course, Rashad's byline claims that this is a Master of Science in Agronomical Physics from the Université de la Renaissance de Haiti. Sorry about butchering the French language. There's only one problem. This university, which conducts all of its instruction in French, doesn't offer an MS in agronomical physics. It has no physics program at all. There's another problem. Rashad has never bothered to claim an MS in agronomical physics on his LinkedIn resume. Gee, I wonder why. Okay, enough of that. Let's read the first sentence. Costello and Gwilliam suggested that quantum field theory assigns a dynamic quantity or field to every point in space and moment in time. Well, that's interesting. I'd like to check on that claim. That won't be a problem because Rashad has been generous enough to cite the authors. All I have to do is go to the reference section, select the DOI link, and I will be transported to a world of quantum field research by Costello and Gwilliam and, well, fuck you. He doesn't include Costello and Gwilliam in his bibliography. Think about it. He never bothered to include the first citation in the bibliography, which nails down the, actually non-existent, connection to quantum field theory.
You are so loco, man!
Now, I'll skip over a lot of drudgery here because I want to get to one of the dumbest statements I have ever read in a scientific paper, if you can call it that. It says, the geomagnetic field also creates the Earth's magnetic poles, which align vertically through the points where the Earth's rotation axes intersect the surface. Rashad, I hope you're not a private pilot. Actually, I hope you are. Well, I'm not going to wish misfortune on you, so I hope you're not. And besides, you might have a passenger with you. Rashad, the Earth's magnetic poles are not located at the North and South Pole. You said it very clearly here. The points where the Earth's rotation axes intersect the surface, that's the North and South Pole. In no way, shape, or form does the Earth's magnetic poles align vertically with the North and South Pole. You idiot!
Hey, I'm the most local person in here.
Now you may be thinking, how could that not be the dumbest statement ever read in a scientific paper? Well, we're not done yet. Get a load of this citation. Karam and SC, SCA? 2016? Really? Now, I'm familiar with Karam. He writes a lot of pseudoscience nonsense, and Rashad leans heavily on him in just about every paper he writes. Karam is a nut. However, that's not the problem here. Look at it. What kind of last name is SCA? So I go to the bibliography, and it says, Karam I, and his first name is Ibrahim, and SCA, I-K. What the hell? So I'm pretty inquisitive, and if I'm refereeing this paper, I'm definitely going to look this thing up. Who is SCA? Well, here's the book, and you'll notice that it's authored by Ibrahim Karam, D.R.Sc., Doctor of Science. There's no person with the last name of SCA. It's part of Karam's degree title.
I'm crazy. I'm the local one.
If this happened only once, you could say that his bibliography software, perhaps EndNotes or Mendeley, mistook his degree title for a last name. That raises the question as to why he entered Karam's degree titles in the bibliography. They don't belong there. But even worse, this mistake shows up 9 times in the manuscript. Rashad, did you even bother to peruse your article before submitting it? And Mr. Editor, what the hell? You couldn't spot that? And what about the supposed referees? None of them noticed this? Of course the editor didn't spot it, because he was only interested in getting paid. And there were no referees. Any referee with at least 2200 vision and an IQ above 80 would have caught this. If there was ever proof that the International Journal of Science and Research is not refereed, here it is. Let's go back and look at the 3 physics equations that Rashad bothered to include in his physics master's thesis. That's right, a physics master's thesis with only 3 equations. Keep in mind that Rashad claims a PhD in physics. I claim he wouldn't know an electron from a proton. Who's correct? Well, this section tells us. Here, Rashad states Ampere's law and writes it down as B is equal to mu naught I over C. He then tells us what mu naught is, but not C. I mean, C? What the hell is C? Ampere's law usually uses R for the distance from the current source to the point where one is calculating the magnetic field, not C. In fact, this is the equation for a magnetic field from current passing through a long straight wire. Why the hell would he even be mentioning this law? I see no application to anything we're doing here. He then states the relationship between the magnetic flux density, magnetic field strength, and magnetization. There's nothing wrong with the equation, but of what use is it in his study? And if you read the rest of the paper, he doesn't tell you. Then the 3rd equation is the Biot-Savart law, but that makes no sense. Ampere's law, which he introduced earlier, is just a simplification of the Biot-Savart law for certain circumstances. And here he uses R for the distance instead of C. So the order makes no sense. You usually start with the most general equation, then derive the special case from it. And these equations are never used anywhere else in the paper. He just writes them down. Why the C in Ampere's law? I think the C was defined in a figure. The author simply decided to label this distance C. Rashad never bothered to check where the C was coming from. He just saw the equation, copied it, and pasted it in his manuscript. The same thing goes for the Biot-Savart law, which is expressed in completely different nomenclature, which indicates that he didn't get these equations from the same source. I noticed here he has a product of an infinitesimal current element and the infinitesimal current length. They both can't be expressed in terms of infinitesimal values, because if you integrate both sides, you'll still get a di remaining, which is infinitesimal. I would love to know where he got this equation. Of course, he doesn't tell us. Therefore, Rashad went hunting for equations related to electromagnetism to make his paper look more technical.
That was LOCO, but not in an entertaining way.
This paragraph shows you how I think he's writing these papers. The first part of the paragraph looks like it was just copied and pasted from various sources, or he used ChatGPT. Probably the latter. But Rashad has to throw in his own 2 cents. So he adds, while such research shows promise for improving agricultural production, it also emphasizes the need to consider the impacts of electromagnetic field radiation on the Earth's natural GMF. Investigating ways to maintain the Earth's natural GMF strength rather than altering it is crucial for the holistic benefit of ecological health. How do I know he wrote this last part? For one, it makes 0 sense. This tutti-frutti, we must save the Earth's magnetic field ecological concern is ludicrous. I mean, we have to be careful not to destroy the Earth's magnetic field? Really? Also, Rashad cites Karam, his go-to New Age pseudoscientist. Why do I say his go-to? Well, he cites Karam 31 times in this thesis. Karam is not a scientist at all. His dealio centers on biogeometry, that you can heal by being placed inside buildings shaped like a pyramid, for example. Yeah, it really is that stupid. But Rashad has totally bought into it. Here's typical Karam. By translating complex dimensions into the confines of time, space, and human perception. What? Karam explained that vertical wavelengths tend to be detrimental to biological processes, while horizontal wavelengths are generally supportive. That makes no sense at all. What the hell is a horizontal or vertical wavelength? Is he talking about vertical and horizontal polarization? Well, if you read Karam, you'll find out that it's far stranger than that. Here's another doozy. Practices such as grounding, which involve direct contact with the earth, help maintain these interactions by stabilizing the earth's GMF. Now, you may be thinking of grounding like you ground electrical equipment, but no, Rashad is talking about walking barefoot. That's right. Walking barefoot stabilizes the Earth's magnetic field. The magnetic field of the Earth, created deep in the Earth's core and generated by gigatons of moving metals, doesn't stand a chance against a person's toesies digging into a lawn.
That's more like, zany or goofy. Yeah. It's the wrong kind of loco.
I'm only going to point out one more absurdity, as I've had enough of this dribble. Literally every paragraph bleeds hilarity. But here goes. Viewing Earth as a unified living system from its core through its atmosphere and encompassing all of its inhabitants helps us understand the way in which the Earth's geomagnetic field influences various aspects of soil health and human physiology. No, Rashad, the Earth, especially its core, is not a living system. If you really think so, you don't understand the definition of life. So is Rashad's thesis worth anything? No. Whatever reasonable claims are generated with ChatGTP is infused with Rashad's ignorance of science, and relying on quacks such as Karam only makes it worse. Rashad Richey is a public figure. He brags about being a public figure. He is shamelessly addicted to the adulation his false claims generate among his fans. With that, however, comes an open invitation for criticism. Because he claims to be extraordinarily influential, his transgressions become open game for anyone that wants to expose them, including me. The only caveat is that such critique must be supported factually, for not even Rashad deserves false accusations against him. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.